solo. As I said last week, I'm going to be doing a podcast a week on my own, and then obviously we'll have Steve-O and and this week I think I've got Pez Hunter back on, Pixel Hunter, Andrew Hunter's coming on. So we're going to have a couple of podcasts on YouTube, and then obviously I'll get the audio out through the week. So it's on obviously iTunes, SoundCloud as normal. This week I'm not actually going to talk about gaming that much because there's a few other things I want to sort of discuss that obviously are interest within the podcast. The gaming obviously is the main thing, which obviously we all know what it's built on and that. But this week there's been a few other things going on that we've mentioned on and touch on, like the MMA and obviously football, the WWE as well. So I'm going to drop in there what I think about what's been going on in them sort of worlds. But first things first, a very, very good friend of mine has created his own podcast regarding grassroots football. He's a coach himself. He's going for all these badges. He's called Dave Horrocks, and he's a tag team partner called Ben. And on the first episode, it's up on iTunes. So it's the Grassroots Coach Cast. I could be wrong. That's it. The links. I'll put the link in anyway when I get this up. I'm sure it's Grassroots Coach Cast. And I'm actually following them on my Twitter. So if you go and see who I'm following, my latest follows, I'll put a post up before. Me and Dave, very, very good friends. We were in a band together for many years, and Dave now lives down south, so I don't see him as much, but we're really good friends for a long time and still are, which is great. So we sort of touched base again over the last few months. He listens to the podcast every week, which is quite good. But yeah, so they give them a follow. Unfortunately, they were talking about Liverpool this week. I know Mr. Masonic will be loving a bit of that. But it's basically they're doing like a retro piece every week regarding sort of football coaching, how certain players picked. And I quite understand that. They picked Alan Hansen this week, and it's a really, really good podcast. It actually puts my first couple of podcasts to shame, and probably even this one to some people. But yeah, give them a follow. Great guys, a totally different podcast, totally different thing to what I'm doing. But I'm hoping at some point I will go on and talk about that, because obviously Jordan played football to a good standard for the girls' team, and she should have carried it on at United and stuff. So, and my sister played for City, sadly, and she played for United and City, but City were the better women's team, which they still are, unfortunately. So yeah, so give them a follow. So first thing I want to talk about today is the UFC 220. It was on last week on Saturday night, Sunday morning in the UK. Got up early to watch it. Really intrigued by basically the co-main events. The other stuff I'm not really going to go into. I thought the whole card was pretty poor, to be honest, other than the two main events. And we had Daniel Cormier with a heavyweight champ who's got his belt back after John Jones got stripped again because of failing a drugs test. So he was against Volkan Oezdemir, and it sort of went how everyone thought, really. It was Oezdemir, or Oezdemir, I believe you pronounce it. He come out swinging from the fences. He's knocked loads of people out. Did that. He was knocking Daniel about a bit. He was giving it him back. Anyway, DC did what he always does. He's an Olympic standard wrestler. Just jumped on him, got him on the floor, almost choked him out at the end of the first round. He got away with it luckily the bell rang, so Oezdemir didn't actually tap out. He would have done a couple of seconds longer. And then we went to round two, and it was just the same sort of thing, really. Oezdemir come out, tried to nullify him with the punches, a couple of near misses. But Daniel fired back with a few himself, and then he just got him down and just, got the victory, and that was it. Just ground him down, ground and pound, basically. So that was a good fight. And then the big fight I was sort of buzzing about was Francis Ngannou, who's the challenger, against Stipe Miocic, which is the champ. Stipe's Croatian descent. Great guys from... he's American, sorry. He's a fireman. He's just like these all-American guys, but he's really, really good fighter. He's only lost once or twice, but every fight he's won himself have all been knockouts. So this Ngannou, though, the one I was telling you about when he dropped Alistair over him, even if now, whatever the result was, you need to go on YouTube and just check that knockout out. It was ridiculous. So he took his head off with over him. So it was a big thing. Everyone thought that Stipe was going to get absolutely caned. Lo and behold, he's not a champ for nothing. He's won 3 straight title defenses now, which is the most in UFC heavyweight history, because obviously usually they just get sparked. There's never been more than 2 title defenses before someone gets beat. So he's won 3 now. So he's obviously up there as one of the best heavyweights in the world. And basically, he nearly got caught a few times at the start of the fight because Ngannou is just a big guy. He's about 25, 30 pounds heavier than him, and you could see it. He was just a monster. But Stipe's a good wrestler. His boxing's on point. He's Golden Gloves champion. He's a Division 1 wrestler as well. He just ground him down. And Ngannou had nothing. He was like a little lost kid. Once he got him on the floor, it was all over. The whole 5 rounds it went. And he went to a decision, which is very rare for heavyweight. Took him out. So, and then Brendan Sharp, obviously, from The Fighter and the Kid, who I, absolutely love their podcast, and I've seen him live and that, I mention him all the time. He dropped a comment on Twitter, which I thought was funny, saying, he trains at the UFC Performance Center in Ngannou, basically saying, did he not have cardio or, wrestling training at the UFC Performance Center, which sort of pissed everyone off. But it was really good. It was the 2 fights were worth it. The undercard, there was a couple of good fights, but nothing. If you're a casual fan, it's not for you. I quite enjoyed it, and it's quite interesting now because I don't know where Stipe goes from here because he's taken everyone. Dana White was saying at the end about possibly, Harry Potter, okay, Michael Jordan's, about him possibly fighting DC because DC was a heavyweight, undefeated heavyweight at Bellator and Strikeforce. Strikeforce, somebody was in Bellator, it was Strikeforce. And he won the Grand Prix there. And he has a really, really bad weight cut when it comes to the UFC at 205. So there might be sort of a champ v champ fight. We're not too sure yet how that's going to play out. Other than that, there's rumours that Brock Lesnar's going to come back. Now, last time, obviously, he failed. He won, but he failed the drugs test. And I'm pretty certain he'd fail it again. So where they go with that, the UFC, I don't know. There's a few new events coming up. There's a couple of things like Khabib Ferguson was announced, which I mentioned in the last podcast, which is for the lightweight title, because there's rumours that Conor's been stripped, but we're not too sure. I did mention it the other day that may be happening, but Dana White's sort of going to be cagey on it. I don't know if they're waiting on Conor because obviously the money it's going to generate him returning to the octagon, not too sure. And then from there, it was like a dual event actually. On the same time, because the Bellator 192, which is like the UFC direct competitor, they went on pay-per-view. They were actually on free-to-air TV over in America. And they would have had more viewers. But Bellator is very much like a graveyard for a lot of ex-UFC fighters where they go sort of at the end of their career. There's a few good ones moved over as free agents. Like one of the fights was Rory McDonald v Douglas Lima. Douglas Lima's a knockout artist. He was the champ over there, welterweight champ. Rory McDonald took him out, basically. It was a great fight. It was quite close, to be fair, and Rory McDonald had a massive lump on his shin at the end of the fight. So that was a really good fight. And to be fair, Rory McDonald's one of the best welterweights in the world. So he's sort of someone the UFC shouldn't have lost, to be fair. There's not been many that have moved over from the UFC to Bellator that you can say, hand on heart, why, you can see why he shouldn't have moved, basically. But he's the champ now, so he's a good fighter as well. He's tough. He trains with George St. Pierre up in Canada, and George St. Pierre's always saying he's one of the best welterweights in the world, and he showed it on Saturday. Then you had they've got a heavyweight Grand Prix going down, and a lot of it's just all ex-UFC fighters. Like it was Chael Sonnen v Rampage. Chael Sonnen has never fought a heavyweight, I don't think properly, but he fought a heavyweight. Rampage was about 250 pounds now, which is, he always used to fight at 205 and then, cut down, but he doesn't seem to be that, he's not dedicated because he is, but he just doesn't seem at heavyweight the same fighter. And basically Chael Sonnen just got him down and just ground out the win. It was a terrible fight really, but he got the victory. And then you've got, who else did we have on the card? Oh, there was a young lad who they've all raving about. He actually lost his first fight called Aaron Pico, and he actually won in 37 seconds with a body shot. But he's someone that they've all hyped up and raved about. And in his first fight, he wanted to fight like top 10 contenders, and he got beat in his first fight. But the last 2 fights he's won, but apparently they reckon in training he's supposed to be an animal. So he's someone to stand out, look out for. He probably will be on the UFC at some point. But yeah, just what was the thing of is you've got the comparison with the UFC and Bellator. Bellator just, the whole thing just reeks of like second-class citizen. Very much as I talk about, I'm going to segue this into gaming slightly. Well, when I always got about FIFA and PES, and it's not a PES bashing, but they have an inferiority complex, Bellator, I think, like PES does to FIFA and stuff like that. And the whole production value, I mean, they've got Mike Goldberg there, who was the UFC co-commentator with Joe Rogan, and the UFC sort of not sacked him, but they let him go last year. And they've tried a couple of co-commentators. They've nicked off Bellator a guy called Jimmy Smith, who's very good. So I think he's going to be filling that gap with John Anik. But Goldberg's there, who's great. But they've got like John McCarthy now, who's the ref, who's like the top ref for all of MMA, synonymous going back to the 90s and stuff. Big John, he's now sort of like interviewing people. He's a co-commentator, a bit like Joe Rogan sort of style. So he's now there. He looked pretty smart, to be fair, and he's whistling that. And then I don't know, they're just trying to evolve it. It's not, they've not really done any pay-per-views, so it's a different way of seeing the MMA, and the Bellator stuff will be in more people's houses in America. It's just a shame in the UK, there's absolutely nothing. I had to go online, these websites there. I got one called Just a Future Reference. Anybody, even if you've not got the BT stuff, MMA Core is a good one because all the fights are on there. And the only thing I find is in the video section, the fights are there, but you can sort of tell if it's gone to a decision or it's gone to, you know, a knockout, because they don't have the fight in one video. It's in 3 parts. So you know that it's gone to decision. It's a 15-minute fight. It's gone to decision. Or if you've got a fight and it's 5 minutes, you know you get a knockout. I know it's bad, but you suss it out because you don't watch it as one. They don't have it as one show. They just have it fight by fight. So I went on there on Sunday after watching the UFC and watched the fights, basically. I was bored with the Chael Sonnen fight. I wouldn't really recommend it, even though he got the victory. But then leading on for that, the other heavyweights in the actual tournament are Fedor Emelianenko, who's obviously was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, but he's had a couple of defeats recently. Matt Mitrione sparked him out. Well, they sparked each other out at the same time, but Mitrione got up quickly as they knocked each other down and knocked him out. They got Fedor Emelianenko, Matt Mitrione, Roy Nelson, he's come up from the UFC. You've got Frank Mir, he had a 2-year ban from USADA. His ban's up, he's now in Bellator. And then you've got King Mo, I think it's Lawler, who he's not really a heavyweight, he's a light heavyweight, but he's in the tournament with Ryan Bader as well, who's actually the light heavyweight champion. But it's a big heavyweight tournament they're doing. It's very much in the style of what Pride was. And Strikeforce did the similar thing, as I was saying before, with DC. So we'll just stay close to that. There'll be some good fights. I don't know how Frank Mir's going to go on. I don't think he's fought for nearly 2.5 years, and he's not getting any younger. He's a great submission artist, but he's been dropped a few times. So I just have to see how that plays out. I do like watching the Bellator just for the fights more than anything, because so you sort of recognise the other fighters like Rampage. Rampage is one of my favourite fighters. It's just a shame now that they just seem to carry on, and you know they go on like an old footballer who should have retired. They just go beyond the years. And I'm not saying I'm being disrespectful, because I can't find my way out of a paper bag properly like these guys are. The professional fighters, but it's just sad to watch when they've been at such a high level to then just basically just doing it for the money or that last sort of glory, hoping something's going to happen. But 2 good events. If you get a chance, get on there and watch. I know BT will probably replay it this week, and if you've got the BT app, most of the fights are replayed anyway. You can watch them in segments or highlights if you don't want to watch, especially if it's a 15-minute snooze fest of someone just lying on someone or whatever and just playing the technical stuff, which most people understand. I like a lot of the technical stuff, but if you're not into the UFC, it can be quite, like UFC into MMA, sorry, it's quite boring. So yeah, so that was the UFC thing. Now, I was going to talk about United and Sanchez, but I'll leave that to the end because I've got a few viewers today. And last time I talked about United, everybody left. So unless you're a United fan, then I will not be mentioning United. So in fact, I'm just going to put on the chat, is anybody a United fan? You know you could hear me, but we say no, we hate him. But yeah. Anyway, so next thing I want to talk about is the wrestling, actually, WWE. It's something, again, it's a big passion of mine, the wrestling. It was as a kid. I've loved the wrestling. A lot of it was why I got into the UFC. I've mentioned it before, was because of Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn and stuff like that. They sort of transitioned over to the WWE or WWF as it was then in the 90s. And that's where I got into mixed martial arts stuff. It used to be on quite weird times on, I think it was Channel 4, Channel 5 at night. But I used to record it and then sort of through the early 2000s went off it a bit. And then I got back into it. I remember the wife's uncle started watching it again. It was on, I thought it was on like Bravo or something. And then the Ultimate Fighter started and that sort of got me back into it. So I was sort of not a casual fan. I was quite dedicated to it when it was original, like sort of the Gracies and that running all the UFC the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the late 90s now, but then it just sort of faded off, mainly because it wasn't really on UK TV. But my wrestling sort of bias and my wrestling love has carried on. So the one thing I wanted to talk about was, like, last night there was Raw 25, which I've watched, but I don't know. It's all PG now, the wrestling. I know it's all fake, and I know it's all, premeditated. We know the score of the wrestling, but it's entertainment at the end of the day. And, Stone Cold come out, stuns Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, and Stone Cold's one of my favourite wrestlers of all time, if not one of the favourite, even though, my game attack and that's Hulkamania. Stone Cold's probably my favourite. I listen to his podcast today. I love Stone Cold, but it just was the same old, same old. I obviously understand what they were doing, paying a homage. He comes out, and man, cuts a promo, plays the heel, he stuns him, stuns Shane and all that. But then through the rest of the thing, they had a lot of these people, but there was a lot of people missing. Like, I understand Hulk Hogan's probably never going to be on WWE TV because of what's happened with them, quite rightly, with the racial comments that he said and things like that. But then you're looking at other people who should have been there and they weren't there, like The Rock and that. And I don't know, it's just not the same anymore. I've just signed up for the network. It's $1.99 at the moment for a deal. I've had the network loads of times on and off. And what I ended up doing is, it's $9.99 a month, but they've sent me an email because I'm a previous customer. I don't know if anyone else has got it, saying you can have it for 3 months for $1.99, which covers me for the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, which really are the only two events I actually watch. The Rumble I love. I don't like all of the pre-fights before it and the title fights, but the Rumble I love because of the unexpected who's going to come out and stuff like that. And then WrestleMania I love for the big extravaganza and what it's all about, because that's synonymous with, like, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. And then I don't know. It's one of them things where they need to go back, put the PG stuff off and go back to what it was. The Attitude Era, the early to mid 2000s, and then they decided to change it. It just dilutes a lot of what wrestling's about. It's over the top pantomime stuff, and they've not got the fan base anymore, and all that people are into is, obviously, Austin was the anti-hero of the late 90s, early 2000s, and everyone loved him, and The Rock was, and had Triple H, but there's just no characters now. Whether you're looking on that on rose-tinted glasses, I don't know, but I don't know. The better athletes now, and, it's more sort of the way it's all put together is very good, but the show production and that's great, but in the same respect, it just does nothing for me. As a old school wrestling fan, and someone's loved wrestling for, for 30 odd years, literally, when I used to watch the wrestling, it's just fucking bobbins now. And, like, you've got the Royal Rumble on Saturday, so you're going to have a few surprises coming in there. There's rumours that Daniel Bryan could actually be surprise entry at 30, and they reckon he might even win it, because they reckon he's given the all clear now after all this sort of brain trauma stuff he's had, because his contract's coming up. So he's sort of saying, well, if they don't let me wrestle, I'm going to go somewhere else and wrestle, because he's had loads of doctors clear him, saying his concussions have gone and his brain activity's fine, but he'd held a lot of stuff back from the WWE because he was having a lot of sort of convulsions and things like that. So obviously they've got to be cautious. I understand that. Now he's got a young family. So we'll see with that. And then leading into WrestleMania, and obviously The Undertaker was there and that. So he'll probably be fighting. I know he's lost 2 now at WrestleMania, but I think it's sort of leading into it. Brock Lesnar, I don't know where they go with the Brock Lesnar stuff, because it's the same old stuff with Brock Lesnar. He's a good act. He's a good sort of strong lunatic when he goes in there, but it's the same stuff again and again. He comes in, suplex everyone, gets his belt. You don't see him for weeks on end. And all the hardcore fans are not very happy. I mean, I follow all the wrestling stuff on Facebook, and it's very much, he's one of these people, they love CM Punk. I mean, CM Punk wasn't there last night because of, like, the pipe bomb and all that other crap, but I'm not a big fan of CM Punk. As an indie wrestler, he was great, and he worked his arse off to get to WWE and all the other stuff, but even when the UFC is supposed to be fighting again, Dana White said, I don't know, he just doesn't, I don't endear myself to him very well. I just don't like him, and all the stuff that's gone on, he was probably right in what he said and did, but it's just, I don't know. I think he gives as good as he gets. And then when he went to the UFC, arrogantly thinking he could just train martial arts for 2 years and take someone out, that's not going to happen. And he got licked within about 2 minutes against Mickey Gall. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think we're going to see. I mean, Ric Flair was there last night. It's great that he's back healthy and stuff, but he looks really, really tired, and he didn't look well at all to me, to be honest. I obviously understand what he's just come through. To even be there is a big thing, and I love Rick, because we've got the woo on the start of the podcast and all that. So I don't know. I'm sure if Steve-O was here, we'd have plenty to say about it, but he doesn't even watch the product now, so... Sorry, I'm keeping the contextual flag flying with the wrestling. We're going to talk about... Oh, yeah, a couple of things. This week, I'm thinking of sort of... Steve-O's going to come on. We're going to do our normal segment. I've already spoke to him this week. And then Andrew Pixel Hunter's coming on as well. We might get into a bit more TV stuff as well as gaming. We're looking at sort of doing something. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the dynamics of the Steve-O thing. Obviously, me and Steve-O, we created this podcast together. It's just becoming a bit hard for him because of work and that. He has to do some long hours and that. And then I'm here in the day. So I thought, well, I might as well just do my own podcast and as well as, attaching it to Steve-O, attaching it to Andrew. If when he comes on, he's been on like maybe his 4th or 5th time this week when he comes on. So, and I've got other guests lined up. And I think one of the things I'm looking at is this vlog I'm trying to do. I've started it, and luckily I've got a couple of people who've done them, a couple of friends, and one of them's given me some great advice. Was if I want to do like a weekly vlog of what I've done, not sort of following with family around and all that stuff, but just sort of following me and how this comes together, just to give it a bit of a different dynamic. Whether it works, I don't know. I'm sure people are going to tell me if it's terrible, and then just editing it and putting a bit of music on it and stuff like that, and see where I go. I've recorded some stuff this week, but I might just leave it till next week and just put a load of things together and see what I think of it, or what work. Will it work? Is it even worth doing and not wasting my time, but just sort of developing it into something. And you've got to keep trying these things. I get that. It's just I'm trying to work out, is it going to benefit the podcast now that we're getting followers and people watching us and things like that? So I'll see how that goes. In regards to, I'm conscious of saying my football team, but in regards to that, I'm happy we've got Sanchez. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I'm not going to say anymore. When Steve-O's on, we'll chat properly. I'm very, very happy. I'm glad they played the piano as well, which was actually him, which is really good. Mkhitaryan, sad, great player. Done some great, obviously he's got the scorpion kick and all that he scored for us, but really, really good player on his day. And Arsenal getting a good guy. Just that he needs, I think Wenger probably will get a better tune out of him than Mourinho. Mourinho's quite hard line. I just don't know whether he's got the fight for the Premiership because he went missing in a lot of games. And you can look back now, obviously the bias of him not playing for my team, there's a reason Mourinho got rid of him. So I just hope he sees that with fucking Fellaini and fucks that idiot off. But there you go. He seems to like Fellaini. Maybe because he fights a bit more, even though he's a terrible footballer. But there you go. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Good result last night for Swansea. Anyway, yeah, great result. So yeah, we'll see how it goes with my wonderful football team. We've got Yeovil on Friday. Sanchez will be playing. I know that will be getting slated for his £800,000 a week wages that the people keep inflating on Twitter. They're clowns. And that's it, really. I won't say any more about United, to be honest. In respect to gaming, I am still all over loving my favourite game, PUBG. Me and Brad, Masonic Gamer, Steve-O were on it together, but me and Brad have been on it literally every single day. And unfortunately, there's been no chicken dinners. It's usually, we get to a point, Brad gets killed because he's the one who actually firing against people. I'm usually hiding like a little shithouse. And then I end up standing up and either giving our position away or flapping when it comes to that last sort of inner circle. We had a fucking great chance the other day to do it and I pissed it up. But I know today there's been a new patch as well. So they've changed a couple of things where instead of killing you, I think it's your left analog stick, you've got to hold it to run. You can actually double click it now to auto run. So you don't have to, keep holding it, which is good. I presume, obviously, it must override it when you move it in a different direction. There's a couple of other things, like you can scroll the grenades again on the D-pad, which it was before. I only read the patch notes before, so I'm looking forward to jumping on that this evening, see how that one plays out. But yeah, it's still a great game. There's nothing else, really. I've finished the modding, as I said last week. I've mentioned it. A couple of people had asked me, actually. I got quite a good response and people asking me questions. I've only, like I said last week, I've only used YouTube, but I've been through a lot of the games. Some of them bring back so much nostalgia for the retro gaming. It's unbelievable, some of the stuff there. The fighting games I used to play in the arcades, and I don't know, even the Street Fighter variants. I mean, when I was a kid in Stretford, Old Trafford, we used to go to Stretford Sports Centre, and we used to go to this thing called Super Saturday, and we used to play football from like 9 o'clock till 12. It never improved my game, but we used to go for 3 hours, and it'd be 5, 6 aside, rolling teams, sort of on and off. And then at the end of it, we'd all have like 10p coins, and you'd have about £2 worth. And what it was, someone had put 30p in, and then you could challenge them to a fight on Street Fighter, but it only cost you 10p to challenge them. So obviously some poor person was putting a bit extra in, only 30p, which to them days to me was a lot of money. And then you put 10p in and continue, so you could play them for 10p, and that's all that you do. Someone got beat, someone else would come on, and we used to have stacks of 10p's and just play Street Fighter 2 and Final Fight, which I love Final Fight. And it's just good seeing them arcade variants of Street Fighter, because the cheat was when we used to play is you couldn't use Ken or Ryu, and you couldn't use the most powerful kick, because you could basically do the flying kick, and then as you hit them with the kick, even if they blocked, you could pretty much go down and sweep them. Well, that was my tactic for winning game. I remember winning game after game, and people kicking off of me and everything, offering me bloody outside to, you know, do me in or whatever, because I was beating them. But that was a long time ago. But yeah, great, just playing games like that. So the wrestling games and everything. Like, we used to go to Spain, and we literally lived in Benidorm when we were kids, and we go for like a month on end over Christmas, and we used to go for a meal at this restaurant, and there was an arcade there on the Avenida Europa, which is the main sort of drag in Benidorm. It's actually the road that runs parallel behind the beach, the Levante beach. I haven't been to Benidorm for 15 years now, but we've been before that, from the age of 10 till about, but to the age of about 25, 26, I must have been about 30 times. We literally lived there over Christmas. We used to get many a letter from school saying, where are you? But anyway, we used to go to this arcade, and I used to go in there to play WWF WrestleFest, which is what I put up on the Instagram and things like that. We used to play, there was a lot of fighting games. We used to play Street Fighter, the football games. It was like the striker games, things like that. We used to play always on them, the racing games, the motorbikes and all that stuff. It was great times. But it's just good to play from a nostalgia point of view. I mean, some of the games haven't aged very well, which we quite rightly wouldn't do, because the technology's not there, or it wasn't there when we were younger. But just to bring that sort of smile on my face is worth all them hours of pissing about and messing up with that soft modding. So if you get a chance, do that, or get a Raspberry Pi, which I've also got, which is great. It's just perseverance. YouTube is your friend, and a lot of the forums, because there's always something you're going to miss. I'm trying to think whether I'd do a run-by-run video of how I did it, and I'm not sure whether I could. One, I could do it justice like the ones I've seen on YouTube, and two, if I did it, I'd have to document it correctly. I just don't know whether I'd do it right. I don't know. I know it sounds stupid, because I've done it now. I know what I'm doing, but there's so many things you don't see in the videos that you end up winging yourself and doing, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to help other people, but I don't know whether I'd do it justice, if that makes sense. In regarding, go back to the vlog actually, in regarding the vlogging, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build up by reviewing and vlogging stuff for when I do go to Vegas, so I can do quite similar to the people who have been following on Twitter. Big shout out again, Matt Bridger, Nikki Firmage, and then there's another lady who's on there who Matt sort of was there with last week in Vegas, or the week before. She sort of started, Claire something she's called, so I've started following her on YouTube, watching her vlogs and stuff. Makes it really interesting. There's just a new dimension. Whether it works, I don't know. So I don't know whether that's it actually, because I was doing a short one today with obviously not having a co-host with me and winging it myself. I don't think there is any more to say really. Oh, a couple of other things. A couple of things regarding films actually, because I'll bring that in. Is this weekend I'm absolute grade A shitbag when it comes to horror films, and Sam is sick of watching Marvel, the Justice League, all these films that I love, and I've took her to the cinema, you know, James Bond, everything. She hates them all. So now and again, I will watch a horror film with her, and it's an old one from 2010, but there's 3 of them. Insidious. Yeah, wasn't happy. Sat there, rocky dressing gown on, hood up, one eye looking through me sort of hood, pillar up, absolute shit in it. Yeah, got me big time. Must have jumped about 12 times. And he said to Sam, I ain't watching this shit anymore. I just hate horror films. I'm an absolute mardas. I mean, give me someone's head getting caved in a gangster film or something like that, no problem. Don't bother me one bit. But some guy in a mask who just appears at a mirror or jumps. I mean, even the Scream stuff. I mean, I do like the Scream films. I remember going to watch Scream 3 when Sam was pregnant with Jordan. So we're going back 17 years. And we actually got tickets for a pre-release screening, which was great. And we were hoping it was going to, I think Sam was about 7 months pregnant. We were hoping it wasn't going to bring her into labour. But I absolutely crapped, especially on Scream, because there's a lot of jumpy bits. Even though it's slightly like a comedy slasher, sort of a piss take, it's still absolute coward. But yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's it for today. They've had a few questions. Like I say, get on to the Grassroots Coach Cast, new podcast out there. It's his first day basically being live on the iTunes. Great friend of mine. And that's it, yeah. So hopefully, I know someone's just joined now. I want to thank you for viewing. I've got quite a few viewers today, actually. I'm looking at probably doing this later on in the evening where I'll probably get more people on. But obviously, the audio side of it's just as important as the YouTube side of it. So anybody who's watching who wants to come on or, you know, jump on, we're happy to get anybody on as guests, and you can sort of come on and we could just chat nonsense basically, or whatever you want, gaming, football, WWE, UFC, MMA, anything really, films. All right, so I've been Chris Phelps, Hulkamania 78. Take care. Goodbye.